fellas. This is Vince Miller. Thank you so much for joining me for this devotional. Today we're in Daniel chapter 1. I'm going to read verses 6 through 7. We're kind of jumping into the middle of the story here. Basically, Babylon has taken captive the best and brightest from Judah. And now we're going to find out who a few of those people were. Among these were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah of the tribe of Judah. And the chief of the eunuchs, that's Ashpenaz, gave them names. Daniel he called Belteshazzar. Hananiah he called Shadrach. Mishael he called Meshach. And Azariah he called Abednego. So basically what's happening here is that the first thing that Ashpenaz does is he renames these four central boys in this story. So let's quickly note their original names, their given names and their meaning, and then their new names and that new meaning. So Daniel, his name means God is my judge. He is renamed to Belteshazzar, which means Bel protects his life. Bel was a Babylonian god. Then you have Hananiah. His name means God has acted graciously. He is renamed to Shadrach, which means Aku commands. Now, Aku was a Babylonian moon god. Mishael, his name means that there is no God like God, and he is renamed to Meshach, which means Aku is who God is. Aku, of course, is that Babylonian god we just referenced. And then Azariah, his name means God has helped, and he is renamed Abednego, which means Nebu is God. Nebu was another Babylonian god. So hopefully you see what Ashpenaz is doing here. He is not only renaming these young men, but he is also removing God's name. He's annihilating it. He is removing it from their identity and their spoken language. And they're being given brand new spoken names and definitions based upon Babylonian gods. This is the first move of indoctrination. It is the complete removal of the name of God. You know, fellas, to give someone a name is a very powerful event, isn't it? If you turn back to the beginning of the Bible, we see that God spoke and named things and they came to be. So it's powerful. I mean, it's the means by which God created light and solar systems and earth and creatures and mankind. He basically spoke everything into existence. That's what he did. He created then and gave definition to these things with words that came from his mouth. And by naming, God actually imparts identity and image into man. That's what he does. And then, after he does all this, we see that he actually gives man the pleasure and the power to do the same. He gave man the freedom within God's created order to name the creatures of the earth and even woman, who, by the way, man named Eve, the mother of all the living. It's a powerful thing to do, to name someone. You know, in our time, it seems that we kind of want this naming power for ourselves. I think we kind of crave the power and the control to re-identify ourselves and others through indoctrination. We're no different from Ashpenaz or Nebuchadnezzar or even Babylon in our time. We want to remove God from our culture, assign our own identity and gender and titles. And what is happening in our time is just another manifestation of our futile attempt to play God. But it's a futile attempt because guess what? We can change the calendar to read Common Era instead of BC or AD. Yet we all know that Jesus is at the center of every date on our calendar. We can remove prayer from schools, yet we all know it's to God that we turn in times of tragedy that happen within a school. We can remove "In God We Trust" from our money, yet we all know it is only God who can be trusted, and it's only him who has any value on planet Earth. This is because removing God's name, fellas, does not remove God. It doesn't. That's the stupidest idea ever, by the way. If God is God, then he will not be stopped and can never be removed. And guess what he's looking for? He's looking for faithful men like Daniel and Hananiah and Mishael and Azariah who will be faithful to his name in culturally combatant times. The question is, Are you that man? Are you that man? Well, I hope you were challenged today, fellas. I hope you enjoyed these words. I pray that they will bless you in the times that we live. If they have, bless someone else by sharing them with them. And I'll see you right back here again tomorrow.